very kind introduction. So here's the book. I am going to be reading out of chapter 6. It's just a short part of the story, and then we're open to questions or discussions or what anybody might want to ask about the book or the trip or writing in general. Okay, chapter 6, Death in Heaven. It's the British Virgin Islands in 2009. Margot, would you rather go on Christmas vacation this year with the Redenbargers or just our family, I asked. Mother, I would rather go with anyone than just you and Dad. So, taking her candid remark to heart, I gathered the Redenbargers, which included Jim and Jan, plus their 2 kids, Tyson, 23, and Jill, 21, and our 3 teenagers for a week of sailing to celebrate the arrival of 2009 destination, the British Virgin Islands, BVI. Hi, Leslie. So, the BVI consists approximately of 50 islands in the Caribbean, but only 11 are inhabited. They are located just east of Puerto Rico and far north of Venezuela. Tortola, Virgin Gorda, and Anegada Islands were the most popular sailing destinations. And on our next 6 nights of sea, we would travel all 3, as well as Norman, Peter, and Jost Van Dyke Islands. The islands were only 10 miles apart, so the itinerary would leave us plenty of time to enjoy each location. So the plan was to cruise the islands during the day, anchor in protected waters of the bay late afternoon, enjoy local restaurants that night. Jeff, our captain, and the rest of the crew would snorkel unspoiled coral reefs, nap on clean white beaches, and enjoy views of boats floating atop the blue Caribbean Sea. We anticipated one continuous party. The problem with the plan was that I hated sailing. Where I grew up in southern New Mexico, the closest body of water was the Rio Grande, which was 100 miles away. And having been sucked dry by farmers, the river was only a trickle by the time it reached my hometown. But despite this, I was an experienced sailor. At 19 years old, I learned how to crew by impulsively agreeing to sail a new boat from Seattle to Anchorage, Alaska. I agreed to go with my then boyfriend, his father, and the captain, who was the only person who knew how to sail. And as soon as I stepped aboard that 48-foot yacht, I noticed there was no handrail to keep me from falling into the water. I hoped I would make it to Alaska alive. As I was the only woman on board the boat, the captain expected me to cook. And at the time, I was a bra-burning woman's liver and a vegetarian. So meal times were a disaster. I was also expected to know that only wool can keep you warm, and I had packed cotton clothing, which quickly became damp and cold. I was freezing, wet, and occasionally seasick for 3 weeks. Towards the end of the trip, we needed 5 nights of nonstop sailing to cross the Gulf of Alaska. Each person took control of the boat for 2 hours. So at 3 a.m. one stormy night, it was my turn to steer. Because the water was so rough, the captain tethered a buckle around my waist, put a buckle around my waist, a buckle belt, and tethered me to the boat. Confident I wouldn't get tossed overboard, he went below the deck to sleep. So towards the end of my shift, I came close to sailing into an invisible tow line connecting a monstrous barge with a tugboat. I screamed for help, and the captain, the skipper, was beside me in a second. If we had hit the line, there was no doubt we would have capsized. I can remember it now as if it happened yesterday. Now, my takeaway from the Alaska trip was how easy it is to die at sea. Many things could kill you while you were sailing, and without anyone ever noticing, leaving you drifting alone on the ocean for eternity. After that near-death experience, the moment I stepped ashore in Anchorage, I swore I would never set foot on a sailboat again for the rest of my life. And a few years later, I married a sailor. Okay, now we're going to fast forward in the book a little bit, and we have, we describes Jeff growing up, but we make it to BVI, and we're on the main island waiting for our boat to get ready so we can take off and go sailing on this trip. And as usual, it took a long time to get the boat. Then we set out and we realized we forgot the chart, so we have to go back, get the charts, get all these other things we forgot, and set out again. So by the time we got going, we get going late, so the sun was setting when we entered the Great Bay on Norman Island. We furled the sails and started the motor, searching for a mooring ball. Now, in sailor's lingo, a mooring ball is a buoy attached to a preset anchor to keep your boat from drifting. Now, at the briefing, they had warned us to make sure we got to the bay by 3:30, or the other boats would have taken our mooring ball and we would be forced to drop anchor. It was now 6:30 p.m. and there were no mooring balls available. If you are not a sailor, all you need to know about setting an anchor is that it involves a lot of yelling. Once again, the crew jumped into action. We found one tiny area where there are no boats, and we began the ordeal. Where do you want to go? Between those two boats? That boat's heading there. What about here? I'm going between those two. Okay? Okay, drop it. Is the anchor set? Will we drift towards any of the other boats? Looks like we're pretty close to that boat. Bring up the anchor. Go a little further. You don't want to go up further? Try it here. Do you want me to go around? No, just drop it here. Good. I think that's it. Do we need another anchor? Yes. The guy from the adjacent boat yelled something at us. The nerve of that guy. Then another ship, twice our size, set its anchor on top of our anchor line. How rude. It was pitch black, so we weren't going anywhere. A crowd of sailboats surrounded us. That first night, the BVI gave us all it had. Wind blowing us into the adjacent boat. Worried that the anchors weren't set. Rain forcing us to batten down the hatches. Squeaking, banging, knocking, footsteps, flushing, the door slamming, an alarm. We've hit something. Morning came, the sun rose, and so did we. The boat was okay. We survived the night, and we vowed to get a mooring ball the second night.
That's great.
Now you have to buy the book to find out. I'll give you a warning, we did have to set anchor again. Basically the same scenario. So that's chapter 6, and I was telling someone here, the nice thing about the book is it has all the different locations across all 7 continents, 70 years of travel, and they're all different varying lengths, so you can always go to Denmark or Patagonia or China or Russia. You don't have to read it.
Estimating, how many countries have you visited then?
Oh my God, how many countries? Well, we visited in 2023 6 of the 7 continents. We almost took a trip to, go to Africa. We've probably visited 50, 60. All of Europe, so Scandinavia, China, Russia, Asia, we've done Thailand, Australia, Patagonia, South America. We've done a lot of travel in South America. All that stuff. I didn't know how to count it up. I have no idea.
What's still on your bucket list?
Well, we're going to see Africa starting mid-July. We're going on a National Geographic expedition into Rwanda, 6 people. We think we'll leave end of June or the beginning of July. I'll be missing our workout then. And the plan is then to take the next, year or something and travel around Africa or maybe India and just wing it, just go for as long as we want to go and decide. In fact, that's what we're going to do is we go, okay, Rwanda, then what next? I happen to think it should be Ghana, but we're starting to talk to people like Mo, whose family's from Algeria, and just getting a feel for South Africa's on there, and depending on the weather and the political climate and all that kind of stuff, we're just gonna kind of mess around to Africa for a while, and then my son's getting married in summer 2027, so we'll come back for that, and we'll just see what's out there. Turns out, it's funny, we thought everybody is, I'll let you go next, but we thought everybody was, like Africa was such an exotic thing, and whenever we tell somebody, they go, oh yeah, I've been there, oh it's great, yeah, I've been there. And we're like, oh my god, we're like the only people who haven't been there. But anyway, Jamie?
Is that open-endedness of like timing and where you go, like you don't know, has that been normal in these, or is this kind of a new phase for you?
Absolutely new. I think we've always had round trip tickets, and this is the first one we're gonna get a travel agent, Jessica, to get us there, and then decide how long we want to stay, where we want to go next. And we did meet a couple who have done that for about a year. They just travel around, wherever they want to go, and they'll see when they decide to go someplace next. If it's between a couple places, they'll look at the weather and go, go up here. But they take, sometimes if you've gone someplace pretty rough, because Anne, who's in our exercise group, says, some of the places it's pretty undeveloped, but maybe they'll go to Italy for, a month or something just to regroup.
Did you grow up in a family that traveled?
No. I mean, I know my sister has a passport because she came to visit us when we lived in Switzerland, which is or after Switzerland, but she's come to Switzerland, but I don't think anyone else in my family has passports. And no, nobody's traveled. No one's adventuresome at all.
How long did you live in Switzerland?
That was about 2.5 years, and that's I think the third chapter in the book. So it's a long one. It's a really interesting one. Yeah.
How did you decide to what to put in the book and what to leave out?
Well, I'm a huge writer, so I journal all the time, and I've, written all sorts of stories. So originally, when I thought of this book, I had published travel stories from this 3-month trip around the world that we did, and I had published them in the Montecito Journal and the Independent and somewhere else, and thought, I'll just stick those in a book, along with some of my other travel writing, like I had done the mudslide and just some other stories. And I'm still writing, like I had written these stories about Patagonia and Australia and stuff. I'm always writing and journaling and writing stories about stuff. And I threw them all in, and then gave it to a editor in London. Didn't understand why I was calling it the travel pitch. She just thought bitch meant dog, and I go, no, Americans will get it. They understand things. But and she read them and kind of said, rearranged them around and said, yeah, everything's good in here, but it doesn't really mount to like some reason for people to buy it. Right? It wasn't like I took a bobsled across this, South Pole or something like that. So the Antarctica or something. So she decided, because she had read my book by then, The Bipolar Gift of Thorns, to kind of add that, like, very slightly interweave it in some of the stories. And I worked with her, 6 months, something. We did like 3 huge revisions on it. And voila! Worked with the cover design artist and the woman in the inner tube from ChatGPT. Title and a couple of examples.
I'm sure you gave ChatGPT, and hence, yes.
Well,
It's just like you, Gail.
Yeah.
I once looked like that. It's a caricature of a woman, so we fought long and hard. It was
How did you feel writing it?
very easy to write, you know, compared, of course, anything compared to that bipolar book, which was 8.5 years. I had also read a really good book on writing called The Science of Storytelling, where there's a formula for every story. And it kind of goes like this: who are you and what's your problem? And then what are some possible solutions? Then you go through some transformation and go, aha, that's what I'm going to do. And then there's some pain associated with that movement. And then, okay, what am I going to do moving forward? And so you'll see stories in here that actually I rewrote them around that formula, or especially something later I wrote. I followed that formula. And if you look at a good book you've read, you'll go, I just followed that formula. Or something else is like, because first of all, you need to know who's the person writing it, and what's the problem? What are they gonna? What do you think back to Shakespeare?
Did you both carry a desire to travel into the marriage, or was one of you pulling the other, or how has that relationship worked for you guys as a couple?
Well, it works like this. Jeff does all the work and then makes all the plans and, you know, suggests, like, you know, I think together we decide where we're going to go. He does all the work, makes all the plans, and, you know, does everything. And I just show up and complain. You know, I like bitch about it. And he'll go, honey, I asked if you wanted to do that.
I sent you an email on this.
No, usually I'm the one with the enthusiasm and stuff, and he's very energetic, and
But I grew up traveling.
yeah, he grew up traveling. I mean, he was traveling to Japan when he was a little kid, when his dad was, when his dad was.
So you love traveling. That's a good partnership.
Yeah. I really enjoy like the cultural, like you won't hear anything in there about any sites or, you know, places, things to do. I think is more like a cultural experience, like the cultural anthropology, what people are like, and what, you know, is going on with the folks. I mean, it doesn't sound like it's from that story.
In regards to the people, did you find a common thread through all the places you've been in terms of the people?
You know, we did, and I especially sought that out with our children when we travel with them. Like, we would always try, again, we're in the Amazon, to go to the home of people that live there and talk to them and ask them questions. Like, you go to see where they live, and, you know, the guy doesn't even have shoes, like he can't afford it. It's the Amazon jungle where you actually need them. And where we live, we don't even need shoes. I mean, we just walk around, you would be fine. And my daughter said, you know, Mom, I can't believe I have so many shoes at home. You know? So, and then when we went to Kenya, I told our travel agent, I would like to have dinner with another couple African families that are at the same socioeconomic level as we are. And for the kids to meet them, and we'll see, you know, what we have the same and everything. And wow. Well, first of all, try to figure out, like, what? You know, so anyway, she finds someone who sets it up. And these people were like mirror images of, I mean, there was Jeff, and then there was like a black Jeff, you know, same girls, and the women looked like me. And the kids, they had teenagers, and then there are teenagers, and they all, you know, were interested in the same thing. We had brought little gifts and had them, and the kids loved the sunglasses. And, you know, we just sat and talked, and, you know, like the other moms were like, yeah, we all had people cleaning our houses, but we didn't want our kids to grow up being slobs. So we said, look, you clean your bedroom, and then afterwards the maid goes in and just vacuums and stuff. But if it's messy and the door closed, you're not going to get your room clean. So just silly stuff like that. And you know, everybody really shares the same values about their family and child rearing, but what's different is the way people live is so different. Like the Maasai, you know, they drink goat's milk, and they slit their veins and drink the blood mixed with the milk because it's so dry out there, and they live in little huts and stuff. And, you know, and lions are around, and they both like put their little sheep in these like stickers. And I mean, it's just amazing how different people live compared to our lush lives. But the basic level, they all have the same feeling about their kids as we do. So, a lot different, and there's a lot the same.
Interesting.
Yeah, which is interesting. That's what we're gonna, when we go to Africa, we want to see what the cities are like. Like the restaurants and the art and the people, and not safaris and all that. Although we're studying the one thing, so gorillas, but more to see.
What do your travels make you feel about Santa Barbara?
Pretty nice here.
I appreciate it.
You know, you come here and it's just such a nice place to live. Someone I read said, you know, if you are lucky enough to live in a powerful nation, live, you know, close to the beach and kick back. You know, it's kind of like live close to the beach and just relax, because we live in this powerful nation. We live here. Not everyone's that lucky. So. And with no cars, you don't have to drive for long. So, pretty nice.
Jill, are there any like ahas for you personally? Like, so you had all these experiences and you're kind of capturing them, but then you kind of pull out and you look at it as a body of work for your life. Like, what are some of the ahas about you as a person, or you guys as a couple? Just, I don't know, just that, are there any things that kind of stood out as you looked at it as a body?
You know, it's funny you should ask that, because that also is something that is interwoven into all the stories. And it's kind of like, what am I going to do with my life? Why am I writing? Is it even worthwhile? Like, why would you write travel stories? And it's kind of, for me, travel stories are writing about truth and what, you know, I see as truth. And so that overarching my personal growth and, you know, become bipolar and all that, and learning to enjoy life instead of bitching about it. And then the last chapter of the book is what I think sums it all up with what we heard versus what we saw, Israel and Palestine in 2023. And so I think that answers the core issue of why travel, like what I see the purpose of travel is. So it's not funny singing on the checkers. The rest of it.
Let's take one more question. Does anybody have?
He's saying, "Mom, why'd you make me come here? When can we leave now?"
Yeah.
Janet, what do you have to say? Do you have any questions?
Yeah, I just have a comment. It's so inspiring. You know, it just makes me want to get out there, and I share the same interests. Like, I'm interested in the culture and the people, and you know, not so much the sites.
I think the target audience is women over 40 are going to find this the most interesting, which would leave you. But not you.
I was gonna say, what would you say to someone who's intimidated to travel?
I would say start out small. You know, go to Ventura, go to San Francisco, go as
Get
far as you
comfortable.
feel comfortable. I know, like, part people in my family were like, I would never leave the United States, and I'm like, no, it's not safe here, actually.
Yeah.
So, or if you're fine where you are, that's fine too. You can always be like the book chair traveler. A lot of people just pick up books and go in there and read all about going fabulous places. Tell that to them yourself.
Interesting.
Are you a traveler? Do you are
I
scared?
would say I lean to the intimidated to
Oh,
travel.
okay. Interesting.
I don't like the unknown. So that I would go with someone who knew what they were doing any day of the week, but by myself, or love my husband, but that would be intimidating.
Yeah. Well, if you were gonna go one place in the whole wide world, I would go to Rome. But Europe's kind of a piece of cake. Like, if you want a real easy toss, I'll go to London. I mean, they are driving on the wrong side of the street, and that's kind of weird. They talk funny, but it's got a lot. I mean, there's a lot to London. flights
Ireland.
from-
Loved Ireland.
You lived Ireland, yeah. Yeah.
First time.
All of the great stations, those are easy.
Yeah.
Slam dunks.
Dale Zurawski, thank you so much for
Thank
sharing
you
your
guys.
travel.
Really
Go Dale. Go Dale.
appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you.